I'm gonna eat the car. Rah, 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 rah. Oh. Hi. Sorry. I'm sorry you had to see that. Let's start this over, shall we? Hey ghoulies, welcome back to The Final Queer. My name is Juan Carlos and I am your fabulous host. Today we are doing more than surviving a jungle. We are gonna look fabulous while doing it. Just like Claire in Jurassic World, when she had to wear the heels. If you know, you know. In today's episode, we are going to be reviewing Jurassic Park, the book, not the movie. So if you are here to see a review of the movie, I apologize for the misconception, but we are going into the book, which honestly is darker than the film. So stick around. And before we get into it, make sure to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel and make sure to turn on notifications so that way you do not miss a single horror book review or a single Final Queer file. Now, let's get into it. So Jurassic Park, the book, was first published in 1990. And once it was published, it became a huge phenomenon. So much so that Spielberg actually, I think the story is that Spielberg actually purchased the rights to the film right away because of how popular the book was. And so Michael Crichton, I believe is how you pronounce his name, he is very much known for writing stories about technology and how technology can sometimes lead us down a dark path and kind of make us, when we're too dependent on the advances of technology, it can really not do us any good than we think it does. And Jurassic Park definitely feeds into a lot of that energy, because if you've seen the movie, you've seen that, like, of course, this like brand new genetic, bioengineering stuff really takes a dark turn in the film. And it does so as well in the book. Let me just tell you that the book is a lot darker than the film. Spielberg even said, like, yeah, we cut out a lot of things or made things different because, yeah, it's a lot darker in the film. One of the examples is the way that Nedry dies in the book is different than the film. So he still dies by Dilophosaurus, and the poison that Dilophosaurus spits out. But in the movie, obviously, if you've seen it, you know that the Dilophosaurus, they kind of gang up on him. They blind him with their venom. They unalive him in the Jurassic Park Jeep. And then that's the end of Nedry. In the book, the Dilophosaurus is, did they say 10 feet tall? I believe they say 10 feet tall, and you're just like, damn, like, that's a tall dinosaur. He, of course, gets stuck in the mud in the Jeep when he's trying to take the samples that he stole from the lab and take them to Dodson, who's a part of Biosyn, which is cool because in the original book, side note, or in the original movie, side note, they don't mention Biosyn whatsoever, and so Dodson is just kind of like this, like, okay, like, yeah. But then, and then, when we get to Jurassic World Dominion, we're like, Biosyn, Dodson, and we're like, okay, we haven't seen or heard of him from, like, since the first movie, but, like, I like the book went into the fact that he's from Biosyn, and that he is the person, of course, that we know from the film. And so Nedry, going back to that, gets stuck, and spoiler alert, just in case, We need that. But the book's been out since 1990, homies. So, and you've watched the movie, or if you haven't, you should watch the movie. But the way that he dies in the book is the Dilophosaurus spits out the venom at his face, right? He blinds him in the face and Nedry can't see. And then all of a sudden, he feels this searing pain down his abdomen. And then, so he's blind, but he's like feeling for, you know, where this pain is coming from. And he can just feel this wet feeling. And he can feel his insides, but on the outside. And then it also describes the Dilophosaurus then picking up Nedry with its mouth by his head, and Nedry's just like hanging, and then yeah, he's just like he's gone. So that is how the Dilophosaurus unalives Nedry in the book. Another difference in the book is that in the book, when Grant is with the kids, there is a river raft scene. So if you watched the latest Jurassic World movie, you know that they were talking a big talk about like, oh, like we're including the river raft scene from the book that we wanted to include in the first movie because it's a part of the book, but we weren't able to, or Spielberg wasn't able to. So they were like, yeah, like so we got Spielberg's blessing to be able to do the river raft scene, and it's intense. Like, so if you watch the newest Jurassic World, it's pretty much like word for word what happens. The Grant finds this raft and they want to go into the lagoon because the lagoon leads to the river, which then leads to the main hub of Jurassic Park. And so Tim is like, I mean, not Tim, Grant is like, listen, I gotta get these kids back. Like, who put me in charge of two kids? The dinosaur, the T-Rex. And so he's like, yeah, we need to get back. And what's interesting is that there's motion sensors in the book. And so Grant is trying to trigger the motion sensors, but they're not working because, of course, what Nedry did. So that ends up, you know, causing delays, and it just doesn't work out for them to be seen. So when they're in the lagoon, they notice a smell, and then they always say like, oh yeah, like when we smell this, like you can tell, okay, oh shoot, the T-Rex is coming. And so they smell this like rancid smell of death and decay, and Grant is like, the T-Rex. And so they turn and they see that it's sleeping, and they're like, oh shoot. And they're like, okay, well, we need to inflate this raft. How are we going to do it? And so he's like, okay, you know, we're just gonna do it. And he like rips it open, and then it opens, and then they're able to get onto the raft. Now, the noise is not what wakes up the T-Rex. What wakes up the T-Rex is the frickin' bittering of Tim and Lex during the boat ride. And I'm like, if I were Grant, I would have just yeeted the kids out. I'm sorry. But like, if y'all are gonna be in the way of me surviving, nah. Sorry, kids. Sorry, not sorry. But so the difference in the book as well is that Tim is the older sibling and Lex is a little child. So she is the younger one and Tim is the older one, which in the movie it's switched. In the book, Lex is annoying as hell. Like, she is a brat, and like the entire time she's like, I'm hungry, oh my god, like when are we gonna get back, when are we gonna do this? And it's like, girl, you are in the middle of a Jurassic jungle, like shut up and let Dr. Grant safely guide you back to the main entrance. Because if not, you gonna get eaten by the T-Rex. And so, of course, like, the bickering between Tim and Lex wakes up the dinosaur, the T-Rex. And so the T-Rex like sees him and he's like, a little snack. The T-Rex fully goes into the lagoon and, like, just like the movie, in the Jurassic World movie, it like, you know, tries to eat them and stuff like that. But then what's also interesting is that in the book, there is a second T-Rex, which is a juvenile. They get saved because the juvenile T-Rex starts to get close to the bigger T-Rex's previous meal. And of course, they're very territorial. So the T-Rex is like, oh, hell nah, you ain't gonna take my meal. And so he goes back and tries to, like, scare off the juvenile T-Rex. And then, of course, Lex and Tim are able to escape. But it's not over. Oh, heck no. They go into the aviary where they meet some pterosaurs. I don't remember the name of the pterosaurs because honestly, it's long and hard to pronounce, but I'll put it here. And when I looked up what this pterosaur looked like, I was like, that is frightening as hell. Which, fun fact, pterosaurs are actually not dinosaurs. So please, do not call a pterosaur a dinosaur. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. And so, it's just a whole mess all around. There is moments where you're just like, wow, it really is different and darker and grittier than the movie, but I appreciate that. A lot of the times we get so much detail from the books than we do the movies that you're like, oh my gosh. And I think that makes it enjoyable, right? Like, when you're able to watch the book, when you're able to watch the movie and then enjoy it, but then you're able to read the book and get a different experience. I think that that is so cool in that regard. So if you have not read Jurassic Park, definitely pick it up at your local bookstore and read it because it's fabulous. Also, can we just take a moment to appreciate my nails? Like, they are Jurassic Park themed, so my nail artist, Kay, you should definitely follow her at OK Nails. She always does such a good job, and like, literally, I take any idea or designs to her and she brings them to life. Like, look at how detailed that T-Rex is on the nail. Like, and then also, this is like 4 to 5 weeks of growth. She knows what she's doing. Book with her. Give her your money. Let's go. Side note, if you are interested in any of the products that I used, I will list them down in the description box, so make sure to check it out. All right, let's get back to the story. So we all know this story of Jurassic Park, right? Like, the billionaire who figures out everything about bioengineering, and he decides to open up a park to be able to showcase all of these dinosaurs that he has been able to create in his labs. And as we know the characters, Dr. Ellie Sattler, Dr. Alan Grant, Dr. Ian Malcolm, all of these people, doctors, you love it. We have Tim and Lex. We have, who, again, as I said earlier, Tim and Lex are actually different ages. So we have them, and so they, of course, are going to this island because they are essentially investigating to see if the park is good enough to open to the general public, because there have been some incidences. And what's interesting is that in the book, it starts off with all these different incidences that occur. So we get actually glimpses into dinosaurs actually making it to Costa Rica and attacking people. So the scene that we get in Jurassic Park, The Lost World, the second one after Jurassic Park with Ian Malcolm. The beginning scene with the compies biting the girl, that scene is actually in Jurassic Park. So I was like, oh, that's very interesting. And so that kind of goes into this whole idea of like, oh, they actually are making it to the mainland. So, and then that kind of is what prompts the investigation process, because the investors are hearing these reports, and then they're like, okay, well, we'll bring in experts to sign off on our park. We know the story. They go to the island, they go on the tour, things start to go chaotic, and then we see that the park cannot function at all. It does not have the same dysfunctions as a normal theme park. It has major dysfunctions that lead to many unalivings, and so that is where we are. So next, what I'm going to talk about is the overall themes and go deeper into what those themes are. And so the first thing that I want to talk about is this theme of hubris and just the immense like exaggeration of pride that, like, for example, Hammond has. And in the book, Hammond is completely different. Like, he is a very, very rude old man. Not like the book whatsoever. Like, in the book, he's like this happy-go-lucky, like, oh, like, yes, dinosaurs, ha ha ha. But in the book, he's like, no, we can't do this. Like, I've built this park out of nothing. Like, this is like what we have to do. This is what we have to like sell to the public. Like, this is going to be the best park in all of the world. Like, this is going to make us millions of dollars. And pride gets in the way of a lot of the decisions that get made. And you notice that throughout the entire book, because he's like, no, like, we can't have issues. Like, we would never have issues. We have the most advanced technology there is at this point in time. How could we have issues? Like, no, we don't have issues. Like, the way that I can explain it is like machista in a way, like this masculine energy that's just kind of like, like, I'm stuck in my own ways and I'm not going to change for anything. And I'm just like, homie, like, you got people dying out here in your park. Like, that is going to cause a lot of distrust for your park in general. Like, no one's going to want to come. He is in denial of all of that, because he's like, no, like, how can I have like dysfunctions throughout my park when we have these whole things like with this technology? And he's like, no, like, it's going to be great. It's going to be fantastic. Like, it's going to, like, watch, you'll see. And it's just like, the entire time you're just like, okay, dude, like, wow, you are definitely not like your movie counterpart. You are definitely greedy. This idea of hubris then leads to this other theme, which is the illusion of control. And throughout the entire book, again, Hammond is saying, like, oh yeah, like, we have control of everything. Like, we are in a good position. We're Gucci. We don't have any problems whatsoever. Yeah, sure, some dinosaurs got out, but that's okay. We'll fix it later. And it's like, homie, no, that is not how you run a theme park. What I like about the book, too, is that throughout the entire book, there are chapters that are titled Control. And throughout those chapters, it is, again, the people in the control room trying to make light of the situation and be like, oh, it's just a fluke in the system. Oh, it's fine. Or, you know, oh, we'll get it up in no time. Like, oh, everything will be fine. When in reality, everything's not fine, because in those chapters, it goes from like the control room being like, oh yeah, we're good, everything's good, to then like what's happening inside the park, and it's like, everything is not good, homies. Like, no. And so again, it is just this like this illusion that there is control. And pride gets in the way of them being able to discern and break from this illusion. But the real villain in this whole entire book is, and will always will be, capitalism. Capitalism is the root of all evil. In this book, again, capitalism is what drives a lot of the decisions that people make. For example, Nedry, he is not getting paid enough at Jurassic Park. And he claims that because he feels that he has done so much for the company, that he feels that he's entitled to more money. Which, I mean, hey, get your coin, dude. Like, for sure. Like, if they didn't pay you, that's their fault. If they wanted to cut some corners to not pay you what you were worth, by all means. By all means. But, again, Biosyn comes to him and is like, hey, we will give you all this money if you can get us some dinosaurs. And so, he, of course, he's like, hell yeah, like, I'm going to do it. And, of course, Hammond is, again, the billionaire capitalist that is like, oh, yeah, we spared no expense. We're going to, like, have all this stuff a part of our tour. It's going to be great. It's going to be amazing. And I'll say even Dr. Grant and Ellie Sattler, they are also driven by capitalism because they're offered money to go to the park. And of course, the money is going to be used to fund their digs and their research. So of course, I mean, that's how they end up in that situation. Which again, get your coin. If you need money for your research, as a researcher myself, when I had to pay my participants, it was rough. Because I was like, huh. Then you get this idea of, you know, capitalism driving a lot of what happens. And then because of that, Hammond sings like, oh, like, you know, like, this is my island and I own this island. And that is why, like, I'm like better than everyone and like all this. And it just leads to so many problems that is just like, you know, all this could have been avoided. All this could have been avoided if you just didn't try to play God. It kind of goes back to Frankenstein, doesn't it? Right? And I believe that Frankenstein does inspire a lot of Jurassic Park because in Jurassic Park, you question how far is too far, right? And are these actually dinosaurs or are they genetically engineered monsters? Because, of course, in the book, Henry Wu actually talks about like, oh, well, I mean, like, we can roll out version 4.0, which for him was like, oh yeah, we can make the dinosaurs scarier. We can make the dinosaurs have more teeth, which is probably where they got the idea for Jurassic World and the Indominus Rex, right? It comes from Jurassic Park, the book, where like that feeling of Henry Wu wanting to be this character that's like, no, let's push the boundary, let's make scarier monsters. And you're like, hold on, yeah. Because Hammond was like, no, we got dinosaurs. He's like, yeah, but like no one really knows what dinosaurs looked like, so like we can give them something scarier. And they're like, and then Hammond at that point is like, nah, like they're dinosaurs, it'll be chill. And then Wu's like, no. Back to the whole illusion of control. In the book, they actually figure out that the dinosaurs are breeding very early on because Grant points it out and he's like, no, they're breeding and you need to check your systems because they have like a dinosaur tracker. And Henry Wu actually figures out because he's actually still on the island when all this goes down. And again, it's like that illusion of control where like they're using the computer, which is like, again, supposed to be this like fancy schmancy computer that like can track all their dinosaurs and it'll be like amazing and beautiful. And like what they find out is like, oh, actually it's not tracking it because we put in for this number, but then it's actually this number. And then Grant's like, yeah, dummies, like That's what I've been telling y'all this whole time. And then Malcolm is like, hey, hey, hey. All right, so I did the rest of my eye look because it called for attention to detail. So I wanted to have that focus without having to explain things because I definitely would have lost track of so many things. So now what we're gonna do is we are going to get into some final queer tips for how to survive Jurassic Park. Now, my first tip is, don't go to a park that says that they have brought dinosaurs back to life. This is my issue because if dinosaurs were brought back to life, I totally would go. Not gonna lie, like to see dinosaurs or what we think dinosaurs are, in person, like that would be so dope. And I wouldn't leave. I would want to be at that park every single day, all day, every day. But like also if it was like hella expensive, like maybe not. So that is my first tip. That isn't really a tip because I would follow it. Next up is tip number 2, do not split up. I know that dinosaurs are wonderful and dinosaurs are great, but yeah, they're also dangerous. And if you do not know anything about dinosaurs, then you do not want to split up. This is not a typical nature walk. If you have no clue what you're doing, if you don't have any clue about dinosaurs whatsoever, like Lex in the book, she has no clue about dinosaurs, so she doesn't know anything. So that leads her to do kind of dumb things. If you're lost with Dr. Grant, like that is like the most like opportune thing to be because he is like the dino guy, he knows everything, and he definitely can help you escape. Don't split up. Never split up in a horror movie. That's like the cardinal rule of horror movies. All right, final queer tip number 2. It is, oh, that was a lot of blush. Respect nature. Don't go try and play God. Respect nature. Leave the dead where it is. Dead. I thought we learned that lesson from Frankenstein, but apparently we did not. And final queer tip number 3, raptors open doors. Raptors open doors. So make sure to lock any doors, make sure to block it, make sure to not be in a room with giant windows. I'm referencing the movie. Raptors are extremely clever, so make sure that if you're facing them, you know how to go against them. And make sure not to perish in the process. So remember, raptors open doors. Lock it, block it, and pray to Dr. Sattler. And if someone says they spared no expense, that probably means that they cut corners, so you better back away from whatever they're offering you. All right, ghoulies, so here is the final look. I have definitely made it through Jurassic Park, but I definitely got some scratches along the way, but I survived because I am what? The final queer, and I will always survive and thrive and slay while doing so. Now, does Jurassic Park the novel stand up to the film and to every other horror book that I've read? Abso-freaking-lutely. I appreciate this book so much. I definitely loved reading it, and while I was reading it, I was like, why did I take so long to read this? It's one of my favorite franchises. I love dinosaurs. I love everything having to do with Jurassic Park. And the book is just definitely 5 out of 5. Velocislays. Get that? Get that pun in there? Yes. So definitely read the book, check it out. buy it. It is available on literally everything. All right, folks. So if you enjoyed what you saw today, please make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel so that way you do not miss any videos. So make sure to turn on notifications, and I will be doing another makeup look inspired by the book The Bewitching by Silvia Moreno Garcia, which is the book that I am reading next month in August. And make sure to check back next week when we launch our first episode of The Final Queer Files, which is my take on true crime and hauntings. All right, ghoulies, so that is it for today. Thank you so much for joining me on this Jurassic journey. And until next time, stay spooky.